Patience is hard, but it pays off in the end, and Lando Norris is looking to improve his 7th place position from last year. Last season, the first under F1's new rules, McLaren did well in the first half of the year. However, the team's lack of consistency in the second half of the year caused it to lose its battle with Alpine for best of the rest, because Alpine was the best midfield performer. For a young, talented and ambitious driver like Norris, whose services would be in high demand by the sport's top teams if he weren't locked in with McLaren until the end of 2025, racing on Sundays for a small number of points can be frustrating. During the launch of the new MCL60 car, Lando opened up with very interesting thoughts for the new season. More on that later. McLaren didn't take advantage of the big changes to the rules for ground effects in 2022. They built an overweight MCL36 that had problems with cooling the brakes early on, and then they lost the development battle with rival team Alpine, which caused them to fall to 4th in the standings. Since team principal Andreas Seidl moved to Sauber, which is being bought by Audi, and Red Bull boss Christian Horner said he had held preliminary talks with Norris, the future of the Briton at McLaren has become more of a focus. Since his F1 debut in 2019, Lando has been a star with a string of strong races. Sky Sports commentator Craig Slater asked Brown if the team really needed to give Norris a car that could compete for the championship in order to keep him on the team. He said that McLaren could lose Lando Norris to other teams if they keep having trouble staying at the front of the field. Norris has said in the past that the team has no excuses for not being competitive by 2024 when their new infrastructure will be finished. Since George Russell and Carlos Sainz both won their first F1 races for Mercedes and Ferrari last year, it's natural to wonder how Norris feels about staying with McLaren until the end of 2025 when his contract is up. The team didn't take the advantage of the big changes to the rules for ground effects in 2022. They built an overweight MCL36 that had problems with cooling the brakes early on, and then they lost the development battle with rival team Alpine, which caused them to fall to 4th in the standings. But the new rules made the start of 2022 season not so good for them. They weren't even close to being competitive. Lando Norris was able to get a few points for the team, but Daniel Ricciardo had problems, and in the end, they lost to Alpine and came in 5th in the standings. McLaren is still trying to get back to winning, but Norris, who will be in his 5th Formula 1 season in 2023, thinks he can win a race now. Lando Norris also thinks that the team needs major changes, but it's clear that he won't change his goals of winning a race and maybe even the World Championship. At the launch of the MCL60, Norris said that he still has full faith in the team that gave him his first top-flight race in 2019. He said, "At times it's tough because I'm a competitive guy and I want to win. Of course, at times you think, what could you do in order to get into the position earlier? But also, I'm very comfortable with where I am right now. I have good confidence in the team, and that's the most important thing for myself, to give myself that confidence, but also for the team to have it at the same time." Later this year, McLaren will start to use its new wind tunnel, which will work at 100% by the time the 2024 car's upgrade cycle is done. With the new infrastructure, the 2025 Challenger will be the first car to be made from scratch. Norris thinks that he was patient enough to wait until the end of his contract for McLaren to give him a car that could regularly compete at the front. He continued, "It's a long way away, but we'll see how the progress can be this season. How can we do it at the end of the season when we get things in the new wind tunnel and start to get our first idea? I want to believe 24-25 are when you should start to see some bigger changes. It feels like a long time away. We've got a whole year to do, but the beginning of that starts this year." Last year was a very frustrating year because the new rules, new regulations was really a chance to pioneer that jump forward. But that wasn't to be. I have definitely not lost faith in the team that I am a part of, and I'm very happy to continue to work with the team and to be a part of the journey to hopefully getting back to winning championships and winning races. He finished by saying, "I have the patience this time to kind of wait out those few more years. I feel like I've got many years still to go, and those 2 years, potentially 2025, is the year when we can be in a position to really fight for things." After falling 1 spot in the Formula 1 standings in 2022 in comparison to 2021, Lando Norris joked that he'd be changing to number 7 in 2023, referring to his best of the rest luck. The McLaren driver was the only one who wasn't on one of F1's big 3 teams to finish on the podium in 2022. He came in 3rd at the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix in April. That's a sign of the closed shop culture that has taken over the sport in recent years, but Red Bull, Ferrari and Mercedes will get new drivers in the future. George Russell, a former Williams driver who won his first race in Sao Paulo at the end of this year, shows that this change is happening. Norris is also from Britain, so it makes sense that he would be both proud and a little bit jealous of his friend and fellow countryman's success. Before Russell took over for Valtteri Bottas at Brackley at the end of 2021, he was talked about as a possible new partner for Lewis Hamilton. So McLaren has a new team boss, is in the process of updating and revamping its main infrastructure, and has replaced one of its drivers with a rookie, Oscar Piastri. Norris is one of the few constants, even though his role has changed. He is always impressive. However, he's no longer the bright young thing on the team. At the age of 23, he is the oldest racer for the first time. Norris did much better than Daniel Ricciardo across the last 2 years. Before that, he did about as well as Carlos Sainz. But the fact that he has done well against two well-known and experienced F1 drivers is one thing. Now, he will be the voice of experience and F1 knowledge on the driver's side, and even though Ricciardo was especially slow in 2022, he still did things off the track that will be missed. Lando now will be in charge of helping Piastri get used to the sport while also trying to reach his own goals. He is yet to win his first F1 race, and he would no doubt love to do so this year. But will he be able to is a very good question. After a year off, Piastri will be rusty, but McLaren is sure that they have another gem on their hands. The Aussie has been called a future star because of how well he did in the Junior Series, but that doesn't mean that he will do well in F1. The fact that he left Alpine for McLaren is a not very subtle way, may also add pressure from the outside. It will be very interesting to see what McLaren has in store this year. Norris and Stella's statements do not pour confidence into the fans of the team, and the new season is only weeks away. The addition of a rookie Piastri, who himself hasn't driven competitively for a year, doesn't help this case, but not even the most optimistic fans believe McLaren can finish above 4th this year. However, they are still strong enough to stand out from the teams in the middle of the pack and finish on that spot in the standings. The pressure is actually on McLaren to improve. They've had a year to understand the Mercedes power unit and the RB18's superiority, so they need to hit the ground running. They need to get their driver in the loop sims, relevant to the race setup in the way Mercedes at Brackley seem to do at almost every race. Final practice often sees McLaren going backwards relative to other teams and puts too much pressure on the drivers just to tread water. Daniel was lost under this pressure, whereas Lando just got on with it. If they don't improve operationally, Lando will be wanted by other teams simply because the general thoughts will be that McLaren does not deserve him. What do you think about Lando Norris? How big of a season will he have? Let us know down below, and see you in the next video.